All right, and we want to welcome everybody here to this presentation. This is a remote pre-recording of the presentation. My name is Jeremy. I'm a client assistance program advocate. And I'm joined here today with my colleagues, Helen and Zach, and they're going to be presenting on the second half of this presentation, which is the Protection and Advocacy for Voting Rights, also known as PAVA. I'll be presenting on the first half with the Client Assistance Program, also known as CAP. So let's dive right in. So CAP was started in 1984. This is when Congress said that it would be a good idea to include the program. There were demonstration projects back in the 70s, and by 1984, they said, this is a good idea, let's keep this. In New York State, there are two VR agencies, ACCES-VR and the New York State Commission for the Blind. ACCES-VR stands for Adult Career and Continuing Education Services - Vocational Rehabilitation. So it's much easier to use the acronym. And for NYSCB, it stands for the New York State Commission for the Blind. CAP is a primary mission is to help individuals who are seeking services from these two agencies, which we'll jump into a little bit more later. I also want to note that CAP can assist with tribal voc rehab agencies and with federally funded independent living centers, or also known as ILCs. But we're not going to dive too much into this in the presentation. I'm just going to mention that here at the beginning of the presentation. But the primary purpose is, it's really are the majority of cases that we see are with ACCES-VR or with the Commission for the Blind. So as college students, the benefit of CAP you have is that it's a free program. It's confidential. It's designed to help you. We're designed to advocate on your behalf while you're seeking services from either ACCES-VR or the Commission for the Blind. And I have some common issues as an advocate that I've heard up here. It's like, help, my semester bill is due and the counselor is not getting back to me, and you're trying to sort through these problems. We're here to help with that. And you're either, if you have a case with ACCES-VR or the Commission for the Blind, no one is going to be upset, or no one should be upset if you contact CAP. It's not going to adversely affect a case in either organization. In some cases, the counselor will advise you to your rights to contact CAP to see if you've run into something like a roadblock. It's something that they'll say, all right, contact CAP, see if CAP can help you work out this problem. So here are some of the things, some of the services that you can receive from ACCES-VR. And these are services that are financially based, or you have to go through a financial needs review for these agencies to sponsor these services. And these can be things that are really important to college students, such as college tuition, books, college fees, room and board. These agencies can pay for a portion, or in some cases with college tuition, it could be paying for the entire college tuition at the SUNY or CUNY rates. And these are some additional services that these two agencies can pay for, like benefits counseling. You want to know if you're someone who is receiving benefits from SSI or SSDI, or receiving other kinds of public benefits like Medicaid, that you won't lose these benefits if, after you graduate from college and you're seeking work. ACCES-VR and the Commission can also pay for things that would be important, like transportation. They can reimburse for transportation to internships, They can pay for things like adaptive driver training or vehicle modifications. And that comes into play more like if you want to get something where you need a vehicle modification. And this is kind of like post-college in most cases when you're seeking work. But during college, you can also give things like evaluations for assistive technology and assistive tech that might be out there that could help you, like screen readers, blue light filters, Dragon. This is just a sample of some of the things that they can do evaluations for and possibly pay for if they're recommended. And then also like post-college, after graduation, they can help you with job placement. And for the Commission for the Blind, this is kind of like their territory, more things like orientation and mobility. This is if you're a student with a commission and you're going to a new city or going to a new college campus, this is a service that they can offer. And CAP can advocate for all of these services at different points in your case. So here are some common reasons to contact CAP. We see this a lot, like the lack of communication with the counselor. They usually have upwards of 200 cases, so they're trying to coordinate services for 200 or maybe 200 plus people. We try to, we can mitigate some of those problems and come in and see if we can get the counselor to communicate better with you. Sometimes those communication problems are not about the lack of communication, but it's more about conflicts between you and the counselor. There's not a good working relationship. There could be disagreements over things like the employment goal, and the employment goal is really, really important. You want to have something, especially if you're a college student and you're seeking sponsorship for any of the services that you could receive, like the college tuition, books, etc. You want to make sure that that employment goal links back to what you're going to school for. So if you're going to school for social work, for example, you want them to agree to that goal so that they can fund and sponsor these services and help you pay for some of your time that you're in school. The other part that can happen, or some of the other common issues, is the failure of the VR agency to provide services. We see this come up. There can be an agreement that, hey, we're going to pay for the next semester for fall, and you've done your due diligence, you've given them all the documentation they've asked for. They give you an IPE and the employment goal lines up. They're going to pay for things like, again, like college tuition, books, fees, a little bit of the room and board. But when you get to the semester, you might find out like all sorts of things could go wrong. Like you go to the bookstore, there's no voucher for your books. And then you're getting these nasty gram emails from student accounts saying, hey, you owe us $3,000 or $4,000 for tuition because the ACCES-VR money hasn't come through. And that's stuff that you want to reach out to us. Let us know if these things are going on and let us know as early as possible. The other thing is, anytime that you feel that you're not being treated fairly, please contact us, reach out to us, so that we could get ahead of any potential problems. And just, even if you don't think that there is something going on, you could just check in with us and say, they might just be doing something like they have you, they have a plan for employment with you, but they're only providing counseling and guidance, which is a free service. But you've talked to them about support for college, and they're kind of like, no, we're not going to do that. And please check in on stuff like that. And then just also, like, if you're not an ACCES-VR client or a client of the Commission for the Blind, you can contact us to help you get connected with those services as well. So this is when due process, I'm just putting this in here just to give you a sense of like, this doesn't happen in every case. A lot of the things we try to do is to negotiate and collaborate and advocate on your behalf at the lowest level possible. Now you as a client of either agency have the right to due process, and you can request due process within a 90-day period. If there's a decision that's made by ACCES-VR and you disagree with it, you have 90 days from that decision to file for due process. And with the Commission for the Blind, you have a 60-day window of time to apply for it. This, in terms of those windows of time, like you can change those. They're not necessarily set in stone. I mean, what you could do is contact us first as CAP, and then we can check it out. And I don't know if I could explain it well in this presentation without it going a little bit off into the weeds, but it's suffice to say, like the easiest advice that I'd recommend is contact CAP first. We see some cases where I've gotten cases as an advocate where we'll get something like someone wants to go to due process. They're contacting us and saying, hey, I want CAP representation. Can you represent me in one of these forms of due process, either the administrative review, mediation, or a hearing? And it's much better to come to us first before you file for due process. These are set up, like I put these on this slide in order of kind of levels. So the administrative review is the lowest level due process. Mediation is a voluntary step. And then you have the impartial hearing, which is the highest step of due process you're offered as either a Commission for the Blind or ACCES-VR client. But the downside, if you go directly to the highest form of due process, like the impartial hearing, and you'll sit before an impartial hearing officer and you'll present on that issue. If that hearing officer does not support your issue or finds that they don't take your side on that issue, they may issue an opinion after the hearing, and you can't do anything with that issue anymore in the future. So let's say that you are challenging a denial decision from either of these agencies about sponsoring you in college, and the hearing officer says, I don't support that. That issue is totally done from that point. So we can help you prepare for that hearing, or we can, in some cases, we can potentially represent you in any of these levels of due process. But again, we only use due process when every other means fails, when we can't talk to the agency, when there's an impasse, when we can't go any further. So the takeaway I want to leave everyone is that CAP is a resource to help you with ACCES-VR or the Commission for the Blind, and that you can access it at any time.
And Zach, if you want to jump in here, this is Helen Hellmuth. I'm one of the voting advocates here at Disability Rights New York. I'm going to be talking for a little bit with my colleague, Zach, who is also a voting access advocate. And yeah, take it away, Zach.
Thank you, Helen. So there are an estimated 38 million eligible voters with disabilities. This means that voters with disabilities are the largest minority voting group in the country. So imagine what a difference that could make if they all went to the polls and voted. This is why we do things like poll site survey and making sure that voting is accessible to everyone. So all of those 38 million eligible voters can have a chance at having their voice heard.
Awesome. And I'm going to talk briefly about the types of services that the voting access team at DRNY offers to college students, to students with disability services offices, independent living centers, self-advocacy groups, really anyone who's interested in learning about voting. These are the services that we provide. So one of the biggest ones is Know Your Rights presentations. Now, the presentation I'm giving right now isn't nearly as involved as the type of presentations that I usually give. The voting access team does presentations on what to expect when you arrive at the polls. So to get new voters feeling confident in going to the polls on election day, how to be an informed voter. So where to find nonpartisan information about candidates, voting rights generally, how to register to vote, really any aspect of voting that you may be interested in, the voting access team will likely be able to tailor a training for you to talk about whatever you are most interested in learning about. We also organize ballot marking device demonstrations. And a ballot marking device is an accessible voting machine that is at every single polling location in New York State. There's two different types of ballot marking devices depending on what county you live in, but they serve the same purpose. It allows voters with and without disabilities to mark their ballot using a machine. So you put your ballot into this machine, it comes up on a screen, and then either using touch screen or a variety of accessibility features, you're able to mark your ballot on your own, and then it is printed out from this machine and you put it in the scanner to be counted. It also has headphones available, so individuals who have difficulty reading, who are blind or low vision, are able to have the ballot read to them. And the voting access team, we partner with local board of elections office to get demonstrations of these devices to groups who want to learn more about them. And it's another really great tool to get people comfortable with the voting process. We also help people file HAVA administrative complaints. HAVA stands for the Help America Vote Act, and it allows for voters with disabilities to have the same level of access and participation, including privacy and independence in the voting process as all other voters. And so if you are a voter with a disability and you feel that your right to a private or independent vote was compromised, there is an administrative remedy to that, and one of our voting access advocates may be able to help you file a complaint to report that. Even if you are not a person with a disability and you say, for instance, try to use the ballot marking device and it's broken, you can file a complaint on behalf of voters with disabilities because it would be a barrier to someone with a disability needing to use that device. And if you look at the bottom right corner of the slide, there is a link to a explainer video from Disability Rights New York that talks more in detail about the HAVA administrative complaint process. Also, voter registration drives, community engagement. This is one of my favorite things that the voting access team does. If you are a student, or again, student with disability services office, and you're interested in hosting a voter registration drive on campus to get students engaged and registered to vote, our team is here to help with that. In pre-COVID times, we would go in person and set up a table and work alongside you all. In COVID times, we do it virtually, but hopefully we'll get back to in person soon. If there's no one, if you don't have a student group who's interested in hosting a voter registration drive, or if you are a staff member and you're too busy to host a voter registration drive, but you think it's really important, the PAVA team can still come out and just host a table on your campus. Again, if you look in the bottom right corner, the second link there, that links to DRNY's voter registration toolkit. It's a really awesome packet that talks about how to host voter registration drives and how to get engaged. But always remember, the big takeaway is there is someone on the PAVA team who is ready and excited to help. So if you ever have any questions, don't feel like you need to just exclusively look at the toolkit. You can email us or call us, and all of our contacts will be on the final slide. And then last but not least, the voting access team, we do poll site surveying. So we go to polling places on election day and during early voting and survey them to make sure that they are accessible. We go out with our measuring tape and we have this, we have a survey that we fill out and we go through our checks and make sure that everything is as it should be, that the doorways are wide enough, that there's ramps where there needs to be ramp, that the parking is correct, that the poll site is set up in a way that people who use mobility devices are able to independently navigate. And as you can imagine, many of the polling sites that we see have issues and are not fully accessible. So what we do is we create reports and we make them public and we share them with the County Board of Elections offices and the State Board of Elections offices and say, hey, we looked at your polling place. Here are the problems that we found, and this is what needs to be fixed. And I've worked in the past with students at SUNY Oneonta and SUNY Albany to train students on how to survey these polling sites on their own. And it's a really great way to volunteer and get into the community, get experience. It's really well received. There's times where some of the professors have offered extra credit to students who survey polling sites. So if you're a student watching this, you can ask your professor to make that a project for you. And now, if there's any voting thing that you're interested in, truly contact one of the voting access advocates. Chances are we'll be able to help you out. And if not, we'll be able to steer you in the right direction. So I'm going to pass it over to Zach to finish this off. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Helen. So as I said before, your vote has power, especially in these times. Even during COVID, your vote still has power. This is why Disability Rights New York and the PAVA program have especially been working on absentee ballot access and making absentee ballots accessible during COVID. So people with and without disabilities can still cast their vote and still have a say in the policies that affect them. You could also become involved. As Helen alluded to, you can hold your own virtual voter registration drives. You can, when we go back to poll site surveying, you can get involved in poll site surveying. But again, you have power not just in your vote, but to influence others around you and influence your community to become involved in voting as well. And as always, you can contact any member of the PAVA team, and PAVA is here for you. We are here to support you with whatever it is that you want to do. So please become involved and feel free to contact us whenever you need anything. So here's our contact information. We look forward to collaborating on future projects. Again, PAVA is here to support you. Please feel free to reach out whenever you want or whenever you need anything. We're here for you. Thank you.
And of course, thank you, Jeremy, our CAP advocate. If you're ever having issues with ACCES-VR or New York State Commission of the Blind, feel free to contact Jeremy and he will gladly help. Thank you all so much.